Sorry I'm late, everybody. Technical difficulties over here. You know how it goes. Anyway, now that that's all straightened out, I am your humble host, Easton Fabian Morgan III, and welcome to Interracial Relationships, Sex, Dating, and Marriage, episode 3. Uh, let's see here. Just in my comments, I wanted to go ahead and paste a URL. Anyone that wanted to, I believe, join the conversation, I think you need to create a free account or whatever, and then afterwards, you can appear I think backstage here, and then you can be on camera. And the thing about this thing here is you can use your phone or tablet or whatever. It's really kind of versatile. I've used this before, but anyway, just welcome back. First of all, let me straighten up my suit because now you're looking at yourself after you sat down. Everything, kind of ruffles together. Let me keep it pimping for y'all, trying to look good. Ooh, oh, over here. My little Miami Vice kind of thing. Okay, see? Yeah. Okay, good. Anyway, so let me tell you a little bit more about myself, right? So, right now I run some rooms on some social media dating apps and some chat apps for specific groups for interracial dating and stuff like that, right? So there are some women in there that identify as Queen of Spades, right? And that's something that's kind of like not a fetish, but kind of like one of those underground culture things that um, that people kind of identify themselves as. There's the lifestyle, right? The alternative lifestyle, which is swingers or couples that are open and poly, and there are many types of different relationships. And then in these relationships, you come across different people who are into different things and who are into specific types of people. So you have your subs that are looking for doms, you have your slaves that are looking for masters. I mean, you have all kinds of stuff, right? But you also have a particular category of white women that are exclusively looking for black men, and they're referred to as either spade queens or queens of spade, or what I just learned tonight is that they're also referred to as snow bunnies. So anyone who's really kind of in the lifestyle is kind of going to know maybe more of the terms than I do. I mean, I've been pretty much in the lifestyle, I want to say like 20 years. And when I say lifestyle, I mean a non-monogamous relationship between different individuals, like sexually, right? So there's casual sex, there's friends with benefits, and then I think that's kind of the lifestyle as well. What I mean, kind of like when we talk about alternative lifestyle, most people may think about alternative lifestyle as to like BDSM and more hardcore stuff. Whips, chains, dildos, things that vibrate, all the little fun stuff that you think you'd find in the Middle Ages or something as some torture thing. But anyway, getting back to the main point, the alternative lifestyle is just anything outside of the norm, right? That's just kind of how we kind of blanket that statement. I mean, people who are either bisexual or gay, you can consider them as part of the alternative lifestyle, even though it's now, LGBTQ now is now type of the norm, right? It's no longer kind of as out there as it was, not when I was coming up, like in the 80s. In the 80s, you can kind of wear the suit, play it off. It was kind of more underground. Now, I know that in the 70s and the 60s, there was a movement, mixed sexual revolution, and a big movement. People were coming out. Um, but that's not my era. It was before my time, so I didn't get to really. I can't really speak up to truth to power on what happened there. I mean, I can only go off what documentaries are saying, and Stonewall, what happened there, and um, different murders, and they have their own struggle. So I can never deny that, right? But In the 80s, when I was growing up in Japan, I didn't really hear about it because we didn't get American TV in Japan, not too much of it anyway. I mean, we got Star Trek, but outside of that, we didn't really get too many American channels. Just everything out in Japan had subtitles for us English people to read. So coming back to America, I really didn't know about alternative lifestyles or gay culture or thing like that. I had to learn. It was a big culture shock, but believe you me, I learned it. So, now being a fully functioning adult, after having lived it, I can now kind of like go back and in my memory and think about all the wild things I've done, but all the things that I've done and all the experiences I've had and the different types of people I've had them with, and identify that as, hey, this was an alternative lifestyle, to the norm. So, I mean, with that kind of clarity in mind, now it kind of explains. I think it explains not only um, how my marriage went bad, uh, but um, but it explains why I have certain thoughts and ideas about relationships that are kind of different than your typical idea. Like for instance, my earlier podcast, I was explaining how interracial relationships have probably happened across the world for generations, but on the eastern part of the world or the Middle Eastern part of the world, um, how that's been happening, but I mean, no one had Twitter, no one had YouTube, no one really made a big deal about it. It wasn't word didn't get around that fast. Let's just say that, right? So, I just think that we're really repeating the same behaviors that we always have, even, the mixology, the relationships, the violence, the marriage, the children, the this, the that. So, I mean, looking into the future now, you know, putting myself in someone else's shoes who lived way back when, I mean, you can shake your head and be like, this person's never going to get with that person, not in a million years. But now, you see it so common. So, I mean, the future is just full of untold surprises. But anyway, back to the main point. I do run a room now, though. I do run a like social media room where particularly white women are looking for black men, right? So it's a Queen of Spades room. So I haven't been aware of Queen of Spades, not the term, not what it meant. Had to look it up. Um, I remember back in the golden ages of maybe Craigslist, hooking up on Craigslist when that was a huge thing, and there would be some posts in there about QoS, and I'm like, well, what does that mean? It's like black men preferred, and I'm like, okay, well, the question I would ask is why, not how could you, or isn't there anything better, but just the question why, because why turns on that brain computer and allows you to dig into um past your intellect and into your subconscious and allow you to pull out genuine answers and genuine things that you feel, rather than putting too much thought. I mean, with enough thought comes the feeling, and the feeling is more genuine. So I pretty much ask the question why. All my new women that join the group, I'll ask them. First thing I'll ask them is like, do you identify as a queen of spades? Number one. Number two, if you do, um, when when in your like dating life or relationship life did you become self-aware that you were like queen of spades? Like just how did that happen? What guy were you with, or what experience did you have? So, and every story is different. Um, so therefore it's unique, and I find it very interesting all at the same time. So, I mean, yeah, these are interesting stories. I mean, from what I've heard, most women will experience their first like either black boyfriend or black friends with benefits or sex partner, whatever you want to call it, um, in high school. I don't really hear a lot of stories about elementary school or preschool or something or going back that far. It's usually like I haven't heard too many teenage ones either. Maybe high school, maybe college, maybe after that, but none of them like junior high or something like that. Not. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just because I value those grades or whatever, and a lot of things changed for me uh, during those years. So maybe I'm biased against that kind of era because that's when I was probably most happy. But anyway, yeah, it's usually when they're more mature. Usually when they start to realize maybe their sexual urges. Maybe they're at that time they're just sexually active and they just find out. So probing deeper, I'd ask, well, two things. Like, how'd it go? Like, was it you dated around for a while and you've had different boyfriends and you had different experiences and then you tried a black man and then you were head over heels? Or was it you never dated around and your first dude was a black man and you're just like, oh, I'm just happy where I'm at and I don't need to go anywhere else? Either way, I mean, it's still pretty interesting, whether it's just, well, I only had this or I've had everything else and then I had this. And different women have different preferences, right? Like, I know Latina women um, who are pretty much only looking for white guys. There's that. There are some black women, very few, but there are black women who are only looking for white guys. So, I mean, you have the other dynamic too, right? So, I mean, it's not like uh, black men are exclusively the ones who are sought after. I mean, there are a lot of women who have different tastes and preferences. So, um, and usually, we get in our feelings. Like guys, we like to be, sought after. Um, we want every woman to want us. Even though we don't want every woman, we want every woman to want us. And, you know, and if the woman doesn't want us, it kind of stings a little bit. You're not crying yourself to sleep, and you're not about to jump off a building, but it just does. It stings an ego. So what? Yeah, you grow up and you move on, but if the girl really looks good and um, you're into her and you're attracted to her and you're like, I really would like rock her world, just something like that, but she's just like, nah, not having it. Just not. You're not even in the same like world or league that I'm looking for. That has to hurt. It has to hurt. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you make. Like, being rejected sucks. No matter, like, you know who I am. You know how much money I have. I own this building, and I mean, a woman can walk away from that. I mean, just like, yeah, taxi. You know, she can be out. I'm like, yeah, you can own all this. And it's like you'll be masturbating and all that by yourself. Because I'm out. But yeah, so everyone has preferences. I run a social media app, group or room, you want to call it, that just deals with sexual preferences. Women have a particular taste in men and a particular type of man. So, um, in in the alternative lifestyle like community, right? Um, I'm learning that there are a lot of different, cliques, different clubs, different hangouts, um, different type of stories to be shared, right? So my story is, of course, a little bit different. You've heard my story to death, but what I'm interested in these groups is the stories that other people have to tell. So I told some people about the podcast too, and told them, hey, you can come into this space and tell your story or share your story if you like, and Um, tell everyone who you are, what you do, and what kind of girls you dated, and what kind of guys you dated, or why, and all that other kind of stuff. So um, I hope that they'll be happening in their later episodes. Episode 3, episode 4, things like that. But until then, it's me. It's me looking good in these suits. I don't mind it at all. Also, when I think about the groups that I run, um, they all talk about the same subject, which is whether it's hooking up, well, where do you live? And, there's people from different parts of the country. It's not just from here or there. It's just, there's some people in New York, there's some people in Texas, there's some people in Georgia. So they all come to my group and, you know, uh, they share their ideas of who their perfect man is or their preferable man is. And we give them our idea of a preferable woman, talking about the perfect date, talking about the perfect hookup, talking about this experience that went wrong or that went right, talking about different couples that we met, talking about how old we were, and talking about that one psycho that we've all experienced. So um, yeah, it's been pretty it's been pretty adventurous. I'll say that, right, for the most part. And I think that if we're going to like progress any further in improving the relationships between each other, then one thing we're gonna have to do is start being comfortable in these spaces, sharing our experiences, even no matter like how semi embarrassing they might be. I have a lot of like moments I wish I could kind of take back, but it's I mean, it's a little late for that, but there's a lot of teachable moments within the mistakes that you make, whether that be uh, o- o- whether it be a bad breakup, or whether it be the girl that shot you down, whether it be um, whether it be that one girl that got away, that relationship that you just like completely effed up. I mean, there's that too, right? So, I mean, if we're going to be honest, we have to be all the way honest. And until then, I mean, we can kind of guess what went wrong all we want, but we have to find closure in all the things that went wrong in our relationships, past, present, and future, and we have to define what we want our relationships to be. So even with that, I have like well over, well, 40 now. Let's say 35 years of experience in interracial dating. Because first of all, if if you were paying attention to my other podcast, you'll know that my first kiss was by a, Japanese, half Japanese, half white girl. So just right there, I mean, um, mm, in a different country, but sometimes I would think what would happen, what kind of guy I'd be if my first kiss was by a black woman. Like, would it change my? I think it probably would have maybe skewed or changed my dating preferences more toward them. I'd like to believe. I mean, your first kiss is your first sign of genuine affection, and it's the first sexual experience you ever kind of have. No, it's not taking off your clothes. No, it's not touching. No, it's not anything like that. But it does define you. It defines, hey, you like kissing girls, or maybe you like kissing boys, or maybe like kissing kind of defines a lot of emotional intent and emotional connection behind it. I mean, it's why like friends with benefit situations, I tend not to kiss, right? I just don't. As a man, I don't tend to kiss women who I'm fucking or sleeping with, as it were. Not unless we're not unless we're really together. I mean, kissing like implies such an emotional intent that it's like, okay, there is this, and I do believe that women have this thing where if he's kissing me, I'm his girlfriend, ipso de facto, and I should like behave accordingly and as such. And that's not what it is at all. But I understand the confusion, right? Because you don't go around, no one goes around kissing everyone, right? Maybe when you're 5 or something like that, and girls have cooties anyway. But um, I mean, general rule, you don't go around you don't go around kissing people. Not maybe little girls, but you grow out of that. I remember a bunch of girls would be in a circle. Stupid story, but I've got time. So I remember girls standing in a circle and they would plot and plan on which boy they were going to kiss. And they would be whispering, and one would point at like me and be like, you know. And I remember hearing one girl saying, "Ew, I don't want to kiss him." And I'm like, you know what? Forget you. I don't want you to kiss me anyway. But like it's like 4 or 5. I mean, it, it still hurt. I didn't want to be kissed by this girl. It was nasty, disgusting, cooties, yuck. But it kind of hurt that she's like, ew. I'm like, that the hell you mean? Ew, you'd be lucky to kiss me. Get out of here. But yeah, I mean, it hurts one's ego. I mean, what can I say? I mean, I think every guy can kind of really relate, to having their ego kind of shut down by either the girl that we wish we had, the girl that we wanted, the girl that kind of blew us off. It just sucks, but we we learn to deal with rejection and we keep it moving. Like we move on. Um, I mean, I don't want any of us growing up being psychos or anything like that, but just we for the most part, 9 times out of 10, we take the rejection, we take the hit as it is, and we just keep it moving. So I mean, there it is in a nutshell for the difference between boys and girls. I'm not sure how girls move on. Usually they'll cry to their friends and they'll be like, he doesn't like me, or he thinks I'm disgusting, or some other thing like that. But I don't think that's the case. It's just, I mean, and girls women understand it now. It's funny because when we're growing up, we hate girls. We hate boys, hate girls. They're always girly. They're wearing dresses. They have a little bow in their hair. Makes me want to just throw rocks or something. But I mean, it's immaturity. We don't see girls as something that's to be protected or something that's so soft and gentle. We see them as disgusting, diseased, like I don't know, dolls or something they're always dressed up and I don't know. It's this is the thinking of a 4 or 5 year old. So please just save the judgment. But now we're the age we are. We want the cooties. We want the cooties all the time. We'll work 2 jobs, we'll buy the right car, we'll buy the right house, we'll fly somewhere, we'll get in the car and drive, all to get the cooties that were once yucky and disgusting to all of us. Not maybe 30 something years. No, no, when those channels and girls. 35 years. It's it's just weird how that works, like, yo, ooh, It's just like just just imagine like just take your 5-year-old face, I mean, ew, and then it kind of morphs and gets as it gets older, it morphs into like, you want like, yeah, you want cookies, frosted cookies. But you have to excuse me if I'm looking down. I'm looking at my phone, just inviting some people. I said, can come to the podcast and all that. But they wanted to talk and get their point of view across, so told them I'd let them know. What's the joy? And this being episode 3, um, uh, I was reviewing some other. I was in, for work. I was in a meeting all day, but after the meetings and after work and all that, I was reviewing some older footage of some of the older TV shows that used to come on daytime TV. Sally Jesse Raphael, Ricky Lake, Jerry Springer, Maury. Well, not Maury, because that still comes on today. Still is Jerry Springer, but way back when, like we're talking like early, like late '80s, like and then '90s, whether like early to mid '90s when daytime TV was kind of all over. Actually, Jenny Jones too. Jenny Jones. So let's talk about, since we're talking about interracial relationships, sex, marriage, sex, and dating. Back in the '80s, in the late '80s and the '90s, there used to be this nighttime talk show, Jenny Jones, and Jenny Jones would always do like, your secret admirer or your secret crush and this and that. And it happened to be sort of like an interracial couple. To be like, well, not really a couple, but hey, there's this black dude that likes this white woman, and but maybe she has a dude. Who knows? You don't know her situation until she comes out and starts talking. But you would have, they would always do these things about crushes, and then sometimes it'd be interracial, so it'd make it that much more interesting in that dynamic. You don't know if the other person is attracted to that person who they have a crush on. 9 times out of 10, they were friends and they were talking and they had that kind of relationship, but they didn't want to take it further for one reason or another, or he was in the friend zone or whatever have you. But when they come out from behind the screen or curtain or come out that whatever they do, they come out and then Jenny's like, "Oh, do you know why you're here? Hey, that's your friend. Oh yeah, well he's got this secret he's been keeping inside that he wants to share with you." And then on the show, live TV in front of the whole world, like homeboy or homegirl shoots their shot, like, and you don't know if it's gonna hit or miss. But at least they got to, hey, well, I like you. Ever since that first day, I've been feeling this way. So I know you're with them, but I was wondering. And then what happens after that? I don't know. But I mean, if it were Jerry Springer, they'd bring out the significant other and they'd get into it. And I can't believe you like my man. You want to take my man? But on, when it's Jenny Jones or when it's ah Sally, Jesse Raphael, or when it's Ricky Lake, it's different. It's a lot more gentle touch. So they really do want. I think Queen Latifah had her own show too. She had her own talk show during the time of Jenny Jones and all that. Montel Williams too. But talk shows were all the rage back then, and they were the only ones, these talk shows, who tackled the issues of interracial dating. Like I remember a Ricky Lake episode that said, "Stop dating black." I'm telling my sister to stop dating black men, or your boyfriend's black and I want nothing to do with him. Like there were all these controversial like titles you'd see. Flash across the banner to get your attention, like, hey, uh, um, uh, ditch your black boyfriend or I'm gone, or something like, or I'll disown you, like something really melodramatic. And it's just, I mean, you wonder, but I mean, these were real issues. And I remember these couples would come on the show and they'd sit next to each other and like, I love my man. He's good to me. And, and every time I'm out with them, we sometimes get dirty looks, but I would love him, want to be with him, and I wouldn't, drop him from anything in the world. It's these people that got a problem and they have a problem, they can kiss my ass. So it was a really good kind of like relationship. And here's what I'll say about that. Here's what I'll say about that because maybe a lot more people need to understand like about interracial relationships. Like they're not easy. They're not easy. There's nothing easy about them. You get a whole bunch of static from your family, your friends. You get judgmental looks as you're walking down the street, or if you're sitting in a restaurant eating, or if you're at a park or theme park. I mean, you get it in the grocery store, you get it everywhere. You get hostile looks, and no, it isn't easy. And people who choose to date outside of their culture or outside of their race, they do tend like they do tend to think about it, and it gives them pause before actually jumping all in, both feet first, saying, hey, we're in a relationship. I mean, usually it starts with friendship, starts with talking, starts with getting to know one another. Then it may move on to actual like meeting up, dating, having a date, having a drink, having going to the bar. Then sometimes somewhere along the way it gets physical, maybe it gets sexual. It probably does get sexual. And then, from there, um, you have the talking, you have the dating, now you have the sex. You equal that all up, give sprinkle a little bit of time on that thing, and you have yourself a relationship, right? But in that process, maybe no one's giving you static because you're not walking together holding hands. You're meeting each other at this restaurant, and then you're both taking your separate cars home. You are not both walking down the street yet. You're not walking in the grocery store. You're not everywhere together holding hands everywhere you go. You are not really a couple. And when you are a couple, that's when things start to fucking change. So, no, the relationship part is not easy. It takes work because you get all kinds of shit everywhere. And everyone's got something to say about it. And these are people who have failed relationships that try and give you advice, which is kind of ironic. It's like, okay, yeah, you're divorced now with how many kids and how much alimony, and you're telling me what? You're telling me I'm messing up my life? So, haha, kind of funny, but kind of not, a tragedy in a sense. But anyway, back to my time machine here. Uh, back in uh, back in the '90s when Jenny Jones was on, I remember um, watching a lot of white teenage girls uh, um, uh, parade themselves by wearing provocative clothes, and how they exclusively only like mess with black men. It was so weird and fascinating to me at the same time. Like they would come out wearing whatever, and you can YouTube this. They're there, but they would dress a certain way, and it's like, yeah, I dress this way, I look this way, and I only date black men. Only date black men. And these were teenagers. So, I mean, some of them were like 16, 17. So the thing is, they passed puberty, is what I'm saying. Like the um in Jenny Jones, back in the Jenny Jones era, there was this theme called "Help Me Control My Overdeveloped Teen," because she was always the overdeveloped teen was always out there like having all kinds of sex. And we're not talking one on one, we're talking like group sex. So, and these parents are like, I don't know what to do, Jenny. She's just, she does what she want to do with the guys, and I gotta care about it. So, um, it- but these women, these young girls, just needed they needed tough love. They needed home training. They needed to dress appropriately, and I'm thinking about it in my little time machine now, and it's like, where are these shows? These shows would take these young women who are dressing like that and put them in like some nice conservative looking outfits that made them look just as like kind of like sexy without looking like slutty. Like they took off the little whole uniforms and gave them some real uniforms. So I mean, they were just as attractive. It's just that they just really needed to dress better, right? So I mean, in your life's decision, do what you want to do, but you know, you just don't. You just want to. I guess you just want to put your best foot forward, and you want to show people your best side. I mean, just saying. But these shows, I remember, I used to stay up late watching them all the time. I loved it. I loved it. It was just brilliant. Well, okay, I had a thing for the girls. I had a thing for the girls. They were teenagers. I was a teenager. I'm like, I wish I can hook up with the girl. Good, good. But you know, I'm pretty sure they're adults now, or um adult like. Let's hope they're out of that whole uniform, and maybe they'll come onto the podcast and share their experiences. If they're out there somewhere, they're probably out there, single moms, or probably married and responsible, all PTA and shit. Probably an assistant somewhere working at some small business, and oh, that was that. I don't recognize that little girl. you know, she was a troubled young woman. That is not who I am today. Whatever they're gonna, something like that. Girls play that shit off. They're born again. Virgins or whatever game they want to play. We can never play that card. A man can never say, "Well, born again virgin." How the fuck would that? How the fuck would that sound? How do you? Yeah, born again virgin. Yeah. Can you imagine putting that shit on a dating profile? I mean, dude, you'd get swipe left like so fucking quick. Like, dude, I'm not messing with this fool. And it'd be me, like this black dude, 40 years old. Like, even if I put on some Urkel glasses and, maybe, I don't know, just kind of do one of these things and be like, yes, I'm a born again virgin. Who the fuck would take me seriously? Oh, please. I man, I can hear the laughter in my podcast room. All right. So, yeah, we can never do that and get away with that kind of shit. But, it, but but anyway, I remember watching a Queen Latifah episode, and she was doing secret admirers and secret crushes. Back then they would have like Valentine's episodes, and then they would do my favorite be my Valentine, be my Valentine. This is my show. I wanted to ask you to be my Valentine. I don't know if we can go out. I don't know if we can date, but I wanted you to be my Valentine. So they would have shows like that, and those were cool. Kind of hey, let me shoot my shot type of deal. I like that. Um, you liked it when the girl got the guy, and you liked it um when the guy got the girl. You like a story to work. So fast forward a little bit to the late 1990s to 2000s and beyond, when we talk about interracial relationships, marriage, sex, and dating. We are talking mostly about the dating shows that were out back then in my time. And I know a lot of you 20-something-year-olds were born around this stuff coming out, but we had these shows, we had these shows, and some of it dealt with interracial dating. One of them was Blind Date. I know I'm dating myself here, but Blind Date was a show that could factor in interracial dating, and um, you know there are thought bubbles about what this person could be thinking or whatever, and it's kind of like I want to say Blind Date was one of the first internet gen edit type of shows where the cameras would follow two people on this date. It'd be one dude, one girl. They'd talk to each other. They'd go to these places. They talk to each other, get to know each other, maybe go get something to eat, maybe go do some activities. And by the end of the night, it's either, hey, this was a nice time, da, 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 I'd do it again. And then, they look at the camera, say what they liked about the other person, and be like, hey, I would go out with such and such again. I would not go out with such again. So if the date went well, you had another date. If not, then no. But but the point was, like, sometimes, like, even on a first date, you wind up smashing. Some dudes wind up smashing. They wind up just, hey, just it works. I'm feeling it, you're feeling it, and let's just take off our clothes and get into it. So I always found that dynamic interesting. But Blind Date was a real one. It was a real good show. You know what shows I didn't like that also maybe sort of kind of dealt with interracial dating? It really didn't, but it kind of did here and there. There's a show called MTV's Next, and it's like speed dating, and it's like so judgmental. I hate it because I remember you know um, 5 guys or 6 guys or whatever it is, and and one girl just gets to say, "Next," and then the guy has to get up and leave and is completely and totally dismissed by a woman, or a guy dismissing a man. I'm sorry, a guy dismissing a woman or a woman dismissing a man. Like, just next. I hated that show. I thought it was kind of trash. I think it was kind of trash because if a dude if a dude made a mistake or said something that the woman didn't like, she can just easily dismiss him outright altogether, and then another guy has to come up, and then they start the date all over again, or they pick up where they left off at such and such activity. And it's like, well, how do you have enough time to really know someone if you're always dismissing them? So it really wasn't a productive show. Blind Date was a better show than Next. Next was kind of trash to me. I mean, yeah, there were some hot girls, and there was some chemistry and this and that. There was some things that worked out, but yeah, no, no, I don't like that kind of crap. Anyway, there was this other show. Since I'm just talking and rambling on about television shows that used to be popular back in the day that dealt with interracial relationships, there used to be this show when I used to work at Walmart 20 years ago, 22 years ago. It was called Shipmates. And Shipmates was exactly what it sounds like. A huge cruise ship, singles cruise ship, and different singles being set up on different dates with different people. And each episode, it's, oh, well, this one's going on a date with this one's going on a date with this one. And it's like, hey, are you this? And they're, yeah, I'm her, yeah, yeah. So, it's like, hey, let's go on this. We're on this cruise. We're all single. Let's just hook up the dating. So it's just like, hey, I'm thinking they probably took like a questionnaire, like an old school, and then they jumbled it around, and then they did some, and then a nerd, right, all of them, did the number crunching, and then hooked one up with this one. These two seem compatible, mathematically compatible, about 86.3% compatibility. or whatever, however it is they did it. I doubt they put their names in the hat. But so they would meet on the ship. Some of the couples that they hooked up with or that they, paired together were interracial. So again, with that dynamic, things got interesting. When it comes to an interracial relationship, the elephant in the room is always going to be race. It's always going to be like, is that dude going to say something about white girls? Is that white girl going to say something about black dudes? I'm always like listening with extra intent. Like, what are they going to say about each other's like cultural background, or are they going to just talk about golfing, or are they going to talk about the weather, or what's your favorite song? All the crap. I mean, I'm waiting for. I guess my interest was I'm waiting for the real conversation, but they just never have it. It's always a disappointment. But yeah, but I keep watching. I keep watching like a fool. But there's never. I don't think there's ever been. I wish that there would be a dating show, and maybe there's gonna be one out there somewhere. But there might, if it's me, if I had that screw you money and I could just put on a dating show, it would be a particular like dating show, like an interracial dating show. And it'd be strictly interracial because I'd want to talk about, or I'd want the people to talk about, hey, well, you're this religion or this culture, this is what I know about it or understand about it. What do you understand about my culture? Or what do you understand about da da da? Da? And I think that is a much more intricate and interesting story to tell because it's two different people who have to learn about one another that don't really know otherwise, right? I mean, you can't just Google Mexican or Indian, or you can't. I mean, sure you could, but you're only going to get so far with that. It's the lived experience that I'm kind of after. And at the end of the date, do they hook it up? Do it's like is it like, you're this way, I'm this way, but we're cool and we click and I like it and you like that and dinner was nice and you know, like I mean I think it would just make a good idea for a good show. I mean, nobody asked me, but call me if you want me to executive produce that shit. I'd make it interesting. But that'd be a cool dating show to have, right? And it's not like I would like, I wouldn't want a real housewife it with all like negative drama. But if they're gonna have a disagreement, I would, what, if they're gonna have a disagreement, I would actually step in, or someone would step in and be like, okay, what's the disagreement, or what's the arguing about? Because right now, or from what I see, like you guys have chemistry, you guys agree, you guys are da, 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 but on this thing here, you guys are kind of both stuck in your way. So I'm wondering, is it something you can reconcile by just saying, hey, we agree to disagree? Or are you saying you're so stuck on this that you can't move past it and you want to like just end the date and just, hey, this isn't the person for me? And I would kind of interject. I don't know, I'm probably wearing this exact same suit, but I would interject and be like that. Like I would be the actual counselor because at that moment, if it's getting kind of negative or hostile, it's kind of like you want to rewind it and be like, okay, wait a minute, where did we go wrong? And how do we fix it? Because perhaps if it doesn't work out at that table or with this couple, perhaps it'll be a teachable moment for whoever, or maybe either one of them, or maybe both of them, for their next date or what they're really looking for. Maybe it's something that we overlooked in our little quote unquote survey. So there are trip mines and sinkholes and traps. There's a whole bunch of things, right? But you know, it is what it is. You have to take that gamble. You gotta take that risk. You don't play that game, you don't win. But it would be a pretty good, interesting like dating show. At least I think. I don't know what I'd call it though. Maybe mixed nuts or something. I don't know. Maybe the swirl. The swirl something. I don't know. Maybe Neapolitan or something with the ice cream that's three different colors. I don't know. Whatever you want to call it. Uh, what else? So besides my brilliant idea for a dating show, um, I have some ideas on dating apps as well. I mean, there are some ideas I have kicking around in my head that I'm going to probably work out, sometime during the next year, see how that lands. Um, but people have particular tastes, right? Like in women and music and movies and TV. But when it comes to like dating and sexual preferences, um, I think it's more primal. It's primal because even though you can make a conscious decision that you're going to look for this type of person, when you meet another type of person, your instincts take over and your logic subsides. It's like, oh, I don't know what I'm thinking right now, but I don't care. All I'm focused on is this person in front of me whom I desire like intensely. No, that's. I mean, it's one of those cartoon moments when both of your eyes like pop out of your head, and you're like, "Ooga." That's the. It's a stupid representation, but it is kind of how we feel when we see, when a man does see a certain type of woman that he's kind of into. I'm like, whoa. Ooh. So it's women are delicious. I'm not gonna lie. What sucks too about being a man, being a black man too, is we have like a lot of like sexual appetites, and I think that uh, I think that that our testosterone and our hormones allow us to, I don't know, think such inappropriate thoughts about normal everyday women. It's like your testosterone consistently has you on this thing where you're mentally like we mentally have sex with almost every other woman that we see out there in the street. It's like, do the first question we really ask when we're looking at any woman, like whether it's on Tinder or whether it's on Facebook or whether it's on Instagram or any other dating app, the first thing we have to ask, the first thing we always ask ourselves is, can we fuck her? Is she fuckable? Do I want to put this thing in her? And those are instincts that a lot of heterosexual men have right off the bat. Now, if you're going to say, well, that's not me, okay, well, congratulations, you're an exception. But I'm pretty sure, other men will kind of agree with me there. Like, we do. These are the things we don't tell women. Women think they know. They don't know. They like to think that they know. They like to tell us what they think they know, but they don't know. Because the thinking of a man is very complex. It ain't as simple as, I mean, yeah, she shows a leg and raises a skirt and wears her blouse real low, but yeah, we see it, but we know what you're doing, and we know why you're doing it. When we yeah, we'll play stupid, but we can never be stupid. So, uh, well, we play that game better. We play it better because we stay smashing and we stay winning. I mean, as winning would get, right? But women, I mean, they control the sex game. I mean, they control who enters into their body and who doesn't. They're the selectors, not really the selectees. They. So I was listening again to another podcast, and I think I remember the saying, women control the sex, but the men control the marriage. So that is something to kind of like marinate that on, right? because traditional relationships were based off of, hey, there's really not supposed to be any sex before marriage. At least that was the kind of the religious type of rules. I mean, now, I mean, it's now it's not really practical. It may be practical in some places in some parts of the world, but not really here. Not really in the modern world anyway. Not in the modern dating era environment. Oh no. I don't think you'll find any girl who are shopping around for virgins. Um, fresh out of high school. Some 20 or 40-year-old, not 20 or 40-year-old, like 30 or 40-year-old, like shot, going around. I think they like, here's what I'll tell you though. I think they like being MILFs. I think like a lot of older women like being MILFs. They like the MILF thing. They like being the holder, hot mom, and they'll wear some skimpy stuff around, like, the teenage, jock or something like that, hoping to get that was that movie, that boy next door type deal. If you haven't seen it, it's with Jennifer Lopez, but yeah, kind of like that, but yeah, but I mean, well, you can't really say. Well, you can really say that about older guys, because older guys who drive. Because in high school, if you think about high school, if you think about dating in high school, we really don't get to peak until we're that cool guy in college, like the guys anyway. Mm, the women, the girls become young women in high school. They go through their puberty. Um, they're more likely to come out the other side of that puberty when they're, um, I believe it's the ages between, like, I want to say, like 12, anywhere. It can be anywhere from like 11 or 12 to like 17 or 18, maybe. So between I would want to say those years, like, women are developing bigger body parts, shapelier body parts, and they're no longer really attracting the boys that are in their high school. They're attracting grown ass men. So, because men appreciate a woman's curves like a lot more than a high school guy, your typical high school guy would. But when I was in high school, yeah, I was digging on the bigger women. I was digging on the curvy women. I was like, damn, I can just touch it, just grab it. But I really didn't have any game back then. I didn't have any talent. I was on the basketball team, was on the football team, played soccer, played baseball. Not a whole lot of women running behind me uh, in those sports. But yeah. So as far as mixed race relationships go, though, as far as when we're talking about meeting the parents, let's try that subject. That's kind of tricky, right? Meeting the parents. Um, I was dating this Mexican girl for year, 2 years, some change. But we were on and off relationship type of deal. I knew her mother, I knew her sisters, but I finally got to meet her dad um, after us being together for a good minute. I finally met her dad. So I meet her dad, and shake his hand, tell him who I am, tell him what I do for a living, tell him what I hope to accomplish, and do this, do that. Hey, taking care of her, taking care of his kids, not doing much anything else, just work. Um, he knew. I told him like what my ambitions were, as maybe owning my own business in the computer industry. Having my niche somewhere. So he was. I felt he was a good man, and it was good meeting him. I don't. Now that we're on the subject too, I mean, yeah, I'm on a tangent, but like men need to get used to meeting like other men, like as far as fathers go. I do strongly believe that if you're courting a woman or if you're even sleeping with a woman and you want to make her your girlfriend, your boo thing, whatever it have you, whatever the term is now, you want to make her your, the main chick. Let's try that. That seems to be a popular term. You want to make her the main chick. After a while, you're gonna want to introduce each other to each other's parents. And I really do think that when a man starts dating another man's daughter, and the man can meet the father, I think it changes the entire dynamic of the relationship. Um, Rather than me dating the woman and then I never meet her father due to some circumstance. Either he's locked up, or he passed away, or he's on the other side of the world, or something like that. If I never meet the father and shake his hand, like I do think that the relationship would have been not as not as stable for as stability goes. I When I met him, I think I had a lot more respect for myself as a man, like dating this man's daughter and reassuring him that I'm going to take care of her and her children. And I think I let him know, like, hey, anytime you feel you want to come over, you come over. I let him know as a man, you need to know that when you want to come over, you come over. Like, you don't need to worry about if I'm there or not, you know? So I think he appreciated that, um, because it's something that I would want said to me, you know? If, my daughter's dating now, so I met her boyfriend. I like him. He's a good guy. We have a lot in common. Um, we both share some same hobbies. He seems to treat my daughter real well. I haven't really heard anything different. So I'm glad that in her dating world, she's able to find someone to pick and hold on to and have a stable relationship with and be able to probably um, build something on that. So when we're talking about um, interracial marriage, that's something that is in a completely different category unto itself. Because marriage is a serious commitment. It's the most serious commitment you can never make besides buying a house or a car or having a child. So in marriage, you want to marriage, I believe, is a relationship that is built on commitment and monotony. Not monogamy, monogamy. Sorry, let me try that. Monogamy, right? Like you're only looking to have sex or sexual encounters with one person for the rest of your adult life. I don't know what kind of commitment that is, but I know that commitment is for procreation, right? For the sole purpose of having children within the context of a marriage. But in the modern era, I mean, these old rules, these dynamics have changed everything. It's put everything on its head, right? So let me give you an example. There are marriages that have been going excellent for 15, 18, 20 years where they're swingers, where it's a polyamorous. Like, yeah, she plays, I play, we both know it, we're cool with it. It is what it is. We don't play alone. Da 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 da. Like there's some rules, some ground rules on couples. I know a few of them. I have my sharing experiences with couples, but um yeah, there's some there are some longer lasting marriages that seem to be working based on the fact that it was agreed upon going into this agreement that it wouldn't be a monogamous relationship. I think with that understanding from both parties, accepted by both parties, I think you'd have a lot longer, trusting, healthier relationship, if not marriage. You're communicating, I'm going to see this person or I'm going to see that person. I'll be back in an hour. I'll be back in 2 hours. Oh, well, I went to go see this person. Da, 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 da. I mean, as long as I just believe that if you're not hiding anything about what you're doing, if they truly know and you truly know that you're both playing and you're both letting each other know, hey, I'm over here at this house getting mine. And then she texts back, well, okay, I'm over this house getting mine. I mean, and you still come home to each other and can still say I love you and want to spend time with you and this. I mean, I don't see the real harm in that, right? And I mean, it allows a couple to have their cake and eat it too, since that's still an expression that applies, right? You can have your cake and eat it too. You can be in a stable relationship, in a committed relationship, in the legal protections that marriage offers, and you can still not have to be 100% monogamous. You can kind of explore a little bit. You can have a friend with benefits on the side. You can try, you know, I guess new sexual things with people. Um, I mean, and you don't have to and you shouldn't really have to worry about your other partner ever leaving you. So, I mean, with these factors, I think a lot more couples are going to start turning to a more polyamorous relationship because if you're tired of quote unquote all the cheating and all the lies and all the games, then you need it's your thinking. Then the problem I would think is your thinking. I don't if you took a percentage, if you took 100% of the United States of America and took a real poll and found out how many relationships were 100% monogamous, I mean, time is a factor too, because we didn't have that many options and interracial dating wasn't a thing. I mean, not here. Well, let me back up. 1950 something, when during segregation, interracial really wasn't a thing. It was frowned upon. Let's just say that. It was still happening, of course, underground, way underground, but yeah, it was frowned upon, severely frowned upon. Um, but now, I mean, so many people have grown up with these options that are and availability to be like, well, I don't have to just date inside of my race. I have all these other kinds of people I can select from. So, and there are some other cultures that don't really practice interracial dating, and but I think it's more of a traditional culture, not really a modern one. I mean, in modern in me in modernity, there is moderation, and in moderation, things change. Things that used to be true for hundreds of years are no longer true today. And I would include, the institution of marriage to include in that. Not to say that that holds no value. I'm just saying from way back when, marriage was a whole lot of an entire big deal than it is today. I mean, who wants to marry a millionaire, The Bachelorette, stuff like that, The Bachelor. So this is what I mean. It's not as if there were if marriage was valued as it's supposed to be valued, there wouldn't be such thing as divorce. Divorce would be impossible once you found your mate and married someone. That's it. You only get the one choice till death do you part. Now that I'm saying that, I would think that there might be a lot of murders. Only because if you couldn't get a divorce and you had to wait somebody else out to die, there would be some kind of Mr. and Mrs. Smith going on, maybe. You know, who knows? But the point being, uh, with interracial marriage, yeah, it's a lot more serious. So it's about, two different cultures represented by different people. Now, whether or not these two different people represent your culture, um, I don't know. That's a completely different. That's a different factor. Only because, okay, instance, I'm a Jamaican. So I'm Jamaican, but I'm not, as you can tell, I don't speak patois. I don't have that thick dialect, that Jamaican dialect. I don't have that. My father has that. My father has the Jamaican dialect. He's from Jamaica. He speaks, thinks, lives, breathes as Jamaicans would. Me, I'm born here in America. I'm distant. I'm distant from Jamaica. I don't have any roots there that I can connect to because I never been there. So, I'm hoping to change that, by the way, pretty soon. So I'll probably get that all on tape and share it with you guys. Excuse me. But yeah, in a marriage, it's usually the younger couple getting married, not really, the older person getting with this old other person of a different culture. I mean, not really. It's usually a couple of kids. It's usually the kids that think that their culture and their religion is so um, um, old-fashioned and out of date, and they don't want to conform to, the rules and regulations of their religion and ideological culture. So they're like, "Nah, dude, I want to marry this person over here," and they're like, "I want to marry this person over here." Yes, but our religion, our what are you doing? And you can't. They're the them, but it's them. It's in the book. It's in the book. It's them. It's them. You can't. And these kids, they're not waiting. If they have to, they'll hop on that plane and go straight to Vegas. They'll find the first Elvis they see and get married right there. Come back. We're good. We're family now. So I mean, so ex-wife is white, of course. Had some interesting dinners with her family, some events, my daughter's birthday, Christmas, Thanksgiving. I don't think we ever did New Year's, but I do remember, of course, Christmas, right? Christmas. So we got along. It was usually myself and my sister that would sometimes tag along with me, but it was usually my wife at the time, me, my wife, my daughter, that would go to my wife's. I would go to my in-laws' house. We would have they'd be busy cooking, or maybe I would be in the kitchen cooking up a little bit of something, or whatever it was. But the kids would be just running around, or watching TV, watching cartoons, whatever, while the adults were doing what the adults need to do. So, um, we we had laughs and we had a good time. You know, for me, I'm thinking about the situation now, and it's like being one black man in the space of white people in their house where they're comfortable in their home, where it's their environment, their immediate environment. It's not that it's um frightening or intimidating, but you do feel out of place. You do. You feel out of place. And it's like I mean, it's nobody's fault, but it's just I'm just saying how you would feel. I'm not saying the situation is, stranger danger and, call your boys up and, let's get it cracking like that, like beat it or something. But um it is off-putting, and none of it, well, you're the guest and the guest should feel comfortable, but yeah, not too comfortable. We see a lot of horror movies that start that way. And we're always on guard anyway. We just are. You're not gonna get us to relax. Oh no. We'll take off our shoes. Doesn't mean that we're welcomed. We if need be, them shoes can stay right where they are. I can run fast in the grass, start my car. I know all the exits. Don't play with me. 'Cause you don't want the smoke. But But during dinner and during birthday parties and during some family events, I would go over, we would talk, make small talk about my daughter, talk about how she's doing, talk about all the cute things she did. And then sometimes we talk about, the wife or, hey, what's she doing and how's she doing and things like that. And then we talk about, something about the in-laws, oh, well, I do this, and I'm trying to get this going. And then, the mother, the father, and then the mother, and oh well, we just like to do stuff from home, and then I'm taking them to school, dropping them off, picking them up. Can't wait till he grows up and gets the hell out of my house, or whatever, or whatever thought they need, to, convey or express. So, um, uh, also, like when we were there, um, I'm not on trial. But it kind of feels that way because um, sometimes when I talk, I know they're listening, but I think that sometimes they're also listening with intent, meaning maybe they're looking for me to screw up and say the wrong thing. Maybe but a lot of times I find that in these spaces where it's just me being the only black dude there, I find that my point of view is that much more, um, what do you call it? Listened to. It's more observed because it's like, wait a minute, I've never heard this point of view coming from this kind of person before. So it kind of gives a person pause because if you've never heard a point of view and you're taking it in from the first time, it kind of shatters your worldview just a little bit, just one crack. I'm not saying shatter. Let me not say shatter. Cracks. It puts a crack in the window, and it's like, well, am I missing out on anything else? And sometimes what you want to do when you're uh what do you call it? When you're taking information in for the first time is you want to do your own research, right? You want to know if this is really true. Like, is this really true? Is this really the case? I don't know. Let me just at least do some little research. Then you find some videos or some messages boards about the topic. Then you get really wise and educated about the topic, and then your entire like worldview changes. Like it can happen just like that. Well, not just like that, but with time and research and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's a trip, really. And I think that we need to probably be listening more to each other, especially when we talk at family events, especially if it's like you're dating someone outside your culture. You want to meet the parents and you want to get to know everything about them. You want to know where they grew up. You want to know their child story. Everyone's got a childhood story. You want to know about the extended family. You want to know about the famous stories, the inside joke. If they speak a different language, you want to know the language. Like there are a bunch of different factors about interracial relationships and dating that make it that much more interesting. And and There have been a lot of people that I know that have been in not only in relationships but marriages with multiple children, and they never get to really share those stories or tell their side of a story if the relationship is still ongoing or if it ended. And I feel like in these spaces and with everything being so available now, that we need to have a really good space for people to come right on in and just um, uh, start telling us what they think about this subject and about the experiences that they went through during their relationship. Because I mean, it's pretty crazy, right? It's when you're oh, when you're a kid, nothing matters, right? Your parents' opinions, all that matters, right? It's golden. They know what's best for you. They've been out in the world. They're trying to steer you best away from trouble. Um, ooh, excuse me. They'll try to let you know, they love you. They're just trying to protect you. But this guy, I don't know about this guy. Are you sure about this guy? Is he the right type of guy? They have parents. We have our own biases against um, people that we assume the worst of. We assume the worst of these people. For instance, if some woman was considering dating like a man with Muslim beliefs, who practices Islam, like he knows how much crap he's gonna be like dumped on. You know how many people are gonna be trying to convince this woman, they're oppressive. He's gonna do this to you. He's probably gonna commit some act of terrorism. All kinds of crazy shit talking that just comes out of nowhere. And it's not because they have some personal knowledge and experience. All of it comes just from a negative bias that we all carry, right? We have a negative bias and then we have a positive bias. We were pro something and anti something. The problem is with the anti stuff needs to be stuff that pertains to a minority instead of the majority. Like like if you're gonna say you don't like Muslim men or Middle Eastern men because you're afraid that they're gonna harm you or do something, I'm like, then why don't you be afraid of those that are going around harming people and doing something to people? Not every Muslim is a terrorist or a potential terrorist. Um, but that's not how we're kind of wired. Not in this media echo chamber environment. Not in the least. You would think the world is coming to an end depending on what channel you watch. So I just think that um, like when you're at that dinner and when you're meeting the not the in-laws, but as it were for me, but the potential in-laws, or when you're meeting her parents, I just think it's really important for a man to meet the father of that daughter that you're dating, because I think that when you walk away, I think one has a little bit more respect for the other, and the other has a little bit more respect for the one. It's kind of like, I was going to shoot him with my gun, bury him. But after talking to him, he likes bowling like I do. He likes, NASCAR like I do. So a lot of people have that thing with me too, right? So a lot of people don't know that, well, by looking at me, several things you're not going to be able to tell. You're not going to tell what kind of music I like, because I like a whole bunch of different music. I like hip hop, R&B, rap, but I also like heavy metal, alternative, hard rock, old school metal. Um, and I've even occasionally listened to like some ska, some punk, and some emo, and um, and a little bit of country. But dubstep, no. I'm sorry. You can take that somewhere. You can shove it so far. I hate dubstep. I hate it. I hate it. Now, don't get me wrong. During the mid 90s to late 90s, a lot of techno came out, okay? A lot of techno, a lot of house, maybe some trance. France. That was always an Austin thing, not really a San Antonio thing. If you're a Texas native, you know what I'm talking about. Um, I do like trance and techno, no doubt about it. But there is some just like when it comes to dubstep, I'm just like, oh no, dude, you no, I'm not dancing to it. What is this? I'm not dancing to this. How would you even what? It sounds like a fire alarm combined with like a, a notification alert or listen, I don't know, I don't care. Anyway, let me just move past dubstep. Um, yeah, I mean Metallica. I grew up with Metallica, Rage Against the Machine, um, Iron Maiden, Pantera, uh, Guns N' Roses, Alice in Chains, Black Sabbath. One of my favorites being AC/DC and Led Zeppelin. Like just both, just like um, some other ones too. I mean, I like Depeche Mode. See, like Depeche Mode. Okay, like like you get me. Um, so I mean, there you can't just look at me and know that I like or enjoy this type of music. You really have to kind of, that would kind of have to be a subject like of conversation when you're in my car because of the radio stations that I play in my car. I'll play the hard rock radio stations in a minute. If I don't think there's any good hip hop on rap on any of these other stations, I'll put it on rock, and there are a lot of songs that I just know. But also uh, mm, I'm a big fan of like the alternative of the '90s, like I mean Cardigans when Love Fool came out because Romeo and Juliet, William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet came out in theaters. That was a popular band. The Romeo and Juliet soundtrack had a lot of different bands that I've never heard of. Um, I mean, now I know who Garbage is and Radiohead. They were always kind of big, but uh, talk show host, never heard of that. Butthole Surfers, never heard of them. A lot of like small bands, but they kind of made it like I would say kind of made their thing on that album because I think that was my knee bumping the table, no earthquake, but I think back then there were some movies had such good music, they would come out with two different versions of the soundtrack. Romeo and Juliet had one version, and I think they had another version of different songs that were featured from the film. So, I mean, I think it was the biggest movie, one of the biggest movies of my time, of my generation. William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet should have been, in my opinion, an interracial film by definition. By definition, I don't think it should have been Leonardo DiCaprio. It should have been maybe I don't know what Donald Faison. I don't think he's a dramatic black actor. Um, Maybe I don't know, Cuba Gooding Jr. I forget who the young like black dude was at around that time because it was um Tyrese. I don't know. Can you imagine Tyrese? You know, where you going, girl? Like all like baby boy, like all thugged out. It's like, where you going, Juliet? Where you going? Romeo over here. you know, I'm sorry. I get a little carried away. Anyway, uh, yeah, it told. I mean, I read William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet like the in school, and I'm like, if we're talking about like two different if we're talking about two different families that hate each other, and we're talking about a relationship that kind of that kind of intersects that hatred, that war. Yeah, it should have been an interracial couple, because if you apply that racial dynamic, everything makes sense. Romeo and Juliet makes much more sense as a love story when it is an interracial couple rather than same race couple, because their love was forbidden. Two families hated each other, both of maybe equal wealth, but yeah, I mean, the friends had something to say about it. Um, the relatives have something to say about it. They got married. They had to get married in secret. They had to keep their relationship a secret. All it, they like, yeah, all of that makes sense when you add an interracial dynamic. It does. Now you're like, and I think that's probably what. You know what? Since we're all in the mood to do reboots, that's exactly what the fuck they should do. They need to do a William Shakespeare Romeo and Juliet interracial, because with all the right words, and just as real as they kept it in the 90s version. But this version can be updated and it can be modern, but it can also be real. It can be about this couple who weren't supposed to be together and they just are. Maybe they met instead of a party, maybe a club that one of the families own or what have you. You can it was modern then and it can be modern now. I mean, a story as good as Romeo and Juliet can be told 100 different times in 100 different ways. We often don't tell it like that, but we should. We should consider changing the story up a little bit and doing this kind of a swap. So yeah, Romeo and Juliet back then. Let's see. I have these ideas, and it just come out, and it's gold. It's gold. So I mean, it's another project of mine I'd work on if I had that kind of stupid money. But just call me. But yeah, I'd have that dynamic to it. Also, there are not, to my knowledge, a lot of shows that deal with interracial relationships that I know of. Now, they're saying the Connors, because I think one of the children are black, I think. I don't know about if there's that dynamic or not. I'll look that up later. I didn't watch the Connors. Um, there is, I think Will and Grace is supposed to make a comeback. There's some other show that's supposed to be coming back, but here's a show. So one of my favorite shows back in the '90s, and you can look it up on YouTube, was called Herman's Head. Herman's Head with William Ragsdale, and he's one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite people, my favorite actors. Because he was in Fright Night Part 1 and 2, and he's just just my favorite. I thought he made a really good character in these movies. So after these horror movies, he did a television show called Herman's Head, and it was about a man's brain, how a man thinks, and the representation of these type of thoughts were represented by lust, sensitivity, anxiety, and intellect. the four parts of your brain that function. So these were actual people that represented the four parts of the brain, and they would all live in this space together, deciding on how they should handle certain situations, whether it be dating, sex, or the job. So it's funny because it's a dual stage dynamic that's never been done before. You have to think like, give you an example. Like these four personalities, um, like sensitivity, which was a girl, she'd be on a swing set or something, and they can all remember the first naked woman they saw, and they can all remember the first date, the first love. They can remember, oh my god, the first time I threw up or something. So these four representations of this person's brain, but in these episodes, this TV show did deal with interracial dating because Herman's boss, his immediate supervisor, is a black man, Mr. Bracken. And he's an editor. Herman's an editor, and he wants to be a writer. But so it's kind of his career path, a stepping stone. But uh, Mr. Bracken's daughter comes in town, and she's got the hots for Herman. So her being a black female, him being a white male, Mr. Bracken, you know, um, he has a problem with it, so he just, pulls them both in the office, like, hey, if you think I'm gonna stand in the way of you two or whatever, you can just forget it, Like you want Herman, you got him. It's gonna, it's not me. I'm not the problem you're gonna have to deal with. It's outside the office and out there. That's the problem you're gonna have to deal with. And if you're ready and if you want to do it, don't come crying to me. Da, 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 da. So they were dating. It was official. They were in love. I think they were having a whole bunch of sex, but I think they were genuinely like they were down for each other. Like Herman was like simping hard for this girl so she eventually had to leave and try and follow her dreams, but in her career, her dancing career, but he it took a while to get over her. But that show dealt with interracial dating, and it was not a popular thing to do back then. Now, skip ahead a little bit, a few more years. There are some Super Bowl ads and some Super Bowl commercials that dealt with interracial dating. And that was interesting. Baby, was that interesting. The reactions, the tweets, the emails. People went crazy. Like Cheerios, the Cheerios commercial of that mixed little girl talking to her mom, her white mom, you know, uh, uh, why is it important for dad to eat Cheerios? She looks so innocent and cute. And then she poured all that cereal on his heart to make, it's healthy for his heart. She poured all that cereal on that black man, and he woke up like, Jen, whatever I think her name was. But there was another Cheerios commercial. I remember the statement that Cheerios had to make. Cheerios had to make a statement. They had to release a statement saying, "We celebrate all families at Cheerios." We're not taking this commercial. Get out of here with that shit. So they made another commercial with this same family, and I remember it was the Cheerios where it's like, "This is mommy. This is daddy. And now we're going to have a new addition. This is your baby brother or sister." And then she's like, "And a puppy." I was laughing so hard. I'm like, is she really negotiating with her parents? I'm like, I would have picked it up, ate it. Mm. I ain't getting no damn puppy. You can't even wipe your own ass. We gonna wipe? We gonna clean up behind some dog. We ain't gonna, I gotta change you. You're the only shit bag I want to deal with. But I'm just playing. But anyway, nah. But it was a good commercial. So two commercials that dealt with interracial relationships, like dealt with. And it doesn't look like it was like some kind of flash in the pants, friends with benefits type of deal. We're talking family. We're talking they walk down the aisle. We're talking they have a child and they're getting ready to have another child and maybe a puppy. And they live in a house and they're happy together. So there's this commercial, this Cheerios. I mean, they put their foot out and they said, "Yeah, it's like somebody, I don't know who, but somebody said somebody there with all the millions of dollars that Cheerios makes, somebody there said, "You know what? We're doing this. Yeah, we're doing both ads. Not one or the other. We're doing both. How about that? Put it out there. Put it out there now." You know, somebody had to like make that kind of like executive money decision that says, I don't give a damn about the feedback, well, it's more attention for us. What are they gonna do? Boycott the cereal? Hell no. So I thought that was interesting, the commercials. And after the Cheerios commercial, I noticed there was this run of interracial couple commercials, like kind of sort of coming out, like trying to think. There are a few interracial commercials. I think there was one where this white teenage girl was like staring and smiling at this like black teenage boy. And it was one of those, I don't want to know if that was a Coke or one of the Peps. I don't know if it was one of those, but it was like some kind of like commercial that talked about um like love has, I don't know if it's love has no labels or something like that. I think there was a movement called Love Has No Labels. Well, there was. I remember. Hell, that's the title. So no labels. There's a whole no labels movement, and it was whether it was a woman with a woman, man with a man, but it mostly had an interracial couple, like a you know they had the reverse. They had the white man with a black woman, and then they had a black man with a white woman. They had stuff like that. It was a campaign or something trying to preach something. I mean, it's a good message, um, but yeah, I don't know if even in 2022, if a black man can walk down the street with a white woman and not get 3 looks. I don't know if that's possible. Not today. I don't know about tomorrow. I don't even know about next year. I mean, yes, it's common, but people feel some type of way about it because when a white guy is walking down the street with a um, Latina, when a white guy's walking down the street with a black woman, when a white guy's walking down the street with an Asian woman, nobody really seems to like look or blink twice because you don't see the white woman looking at this white dude who's got this ethnic woman on his arm or by his side saying, "That motherfucker," and talk so much shit. And I mean, he probably just with that Asian chick because he can't get no other kind of pussy anymore. He ain't getting like you don't hear. I don't think they get the dirty looks. I don't think they get the hate and the resentment and the shade. They don't. I don't see it. I've never heard of a white guy that goes on, well, maybe I'm not saying it never happens, but I've never heard. So just me, personal experience. And just ask yourself this question: how many YouTube channels or YouTube things or whatever social media things we saw some white guy crying or like in his feelings because when he was walking down the street with this other woman of ethnicity, like he was harassed and harangued, and he got beat up for it, or the woman that he was walking with, she got pursued, she got whistled at. People were trying to make a play for her because it's like, hey, if she's with this lamo, I got a better shot of, satisfying her sexually or whatever than he does. So I've never heard of that kind of pull. Like, hey, there's this white guy walking down the street with whoever he's walking with, and then there's just some other dude somewhere to the side or in front of his face. Like, I think I'm just gonna have that for dinner, or something like that. I don't think I see that much, right? Not saying it never happens, not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying I don't hear about it everywhere. So that's my main point. But yeah, no, no, no. When it comes to black men, here's the problem. Because it doesn't have to be a white woman that we walk down the street with. It can be a Latina. It can be an Asian woman. It can be someone who's Muslim or Indian. It can be any other ethnicity or nationality of female. People who walk down the street and see us together think it's wrong. Like, they think it's wrong. It's like, you shouldn't be with the person that you're with. I don't know why. I don't know how, but I know it's true. So it's kind of, I mean, if you're, think about it, you're operating in an environment where a lot of people don't want black men to date anybody. If you think about it, if you ask, now we may be the sexual preference of a lot of women, but that's another story in the book of the never ending story. That's another book. I'll have to, and in order to kind of dig into the sexual preference of, you know, having black men, I can't really answer that. Like, yeah, I can, kind of spitball and talk a bunch of shit, but I can't give you that answer that even I'm looking for, and the answer that even I need. I can only try and reach out to different women, um, and see why it is a sexual preference that you be with a black man or experience this with a black man. Why? What is the curiosity? What is the difference? What is the um if you had to put a word on it, if you had to put a feeling on it, what would it be and why? And then, kind of dig into that more. But only a woman can answer these questions. I can only ask them. So, just be on the lookout for some stuff like that. Um, I do plan on making some recordings, some recorded interviews perhaps. And then if I can make some recorded interviews that are maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes long, something like that. I can, kind of our next episode, we can go over it and discuss it, and people can leave comments about what they think about it, and really maybe dig into stuff and see what open the dialogue a little bit. I'm still trying. I'm still, talking about myself to myself right now. I mean, episode 10, episode 20, we might be I might be in a completely different place. I might be hardly talking. I might be, just one guy on a screen while everybody else is talking. But right now, it's episode 3. It's just me. And it's cool. I like, first of all, I like the sound of my own voice. I can make different voices. And, I've done that for a while. I don't know how many I can do. I don't, I typically don't go around saying different stuff, but I try. It's just, it's just something that's self-entertainment. It's not something for everybody. It's just something for me or my significant other or something. I'll sometimes just be in the middle of something and I'll just come out with some Irish or or some Italian or something, and she'll be like, "What?" I'm like, "No, nothing. Never mind. Forget I said anything." I'm like, "Miss Scusi, Miss Scusi." But yeah, I mean, my dating misadventures. Um, I swear I need like a little Indiana Jones hat to like kind of tell you, well, actually, I'll probably put that one on. Kind of give you a little adventure, as it were. Excuse me, get a little gassy today. But I'll keep a lookout on these other social media events and these other podcasts because sometimes I go on like I go on the Peef Network. I'll go on to um, maybe Overtime. I think with Aaron, that's what it's called. Or I'll go on Island Girl Q's podcast, or I'll go on the Fight Club. Um, so we talk about real issues on there. I mostly go on to listen, but if I really, really got something to say, I'll say it. If it's important or if it's an important point on a matter. Because me being the age that I am, I know a lot more now, so I have a lot more to contribute on an intellectual level. But yeah, also I'm thinking about starting up another podcast that will be for maybe like 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes, talking about my software engineering experience. Only because I don't know how many black software engineers you know, or how many senior software engineers you know, but I don't think there's. I mean, yeah, we're out there, but you don't really get to talk to one or get to ask one any questions or get to interview another one or get to you know um you don't get to do the intellectual deep dive into like all the nerd and tech stuff that a software engineer could go, right? So, I'm thinking about doing a little something, just a little 30 minutes something. Not to hog up your attention span, so not like I'm doing now, but yeah, something like that would be nice. Um, I'm not sure, but I'm also thinking. Uh, there are several groups that I run, right? A lot of them Queen of Spades, like we were talking earlier. So hopefully I can get some more interviews like that, get some more women to come on and tell their story, some guys too. Get them to share their experience a little bit. Get them to share their first, because everybody's got a first woman you're attracted to, a first girlfriend you had, a first sexual experience you had, and then how it changes your viewpoint on what relationships are, what they should be, who do you want to date, who were you dating, why did it end, all the juicy, gushy stuff that you can learn from other people, and it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of therapeutic. I mean, there is therapy to confronting your demons and um, having some introspection, and maybe even being challenged or pushed a little bit. Um, Nothing too hard, nothing too harsh, but if you ask the same question or maybe one question in two or three different ways, maybe you get a better view of someone's dimension. Um, uh, for instance, what do I like? A lot of women have a lot of standards. On Tinder, I think I went on Tinder last time we were on the podcast. A lot of Tinder was no BS, no games, no hookups, and like they put that like right out front. They put what they don't want and they put what they do want. Like some of them will say, I'm looking for a serious relationship, da da da, tired of all the lies, tired of all the games, tired of all the cheating. If you're looking to just smash, swipe left. If you're looking for a one night stand, swipe left. All these like conditional, like don't even think about like trying to have sex with me because I'm not interested. And it's First of all, it's total cap. But second of all, I don't understand why. What would it look like if a man put on this profile? I'm 40. I'm like 6'3". I make like 6 or 7 figures. Don't even think about trying to start a relationship with me because I'm not having it. Like, I'm not having it. Don't even think that you're gonna be my wife because that's not gonna happen. I don't tolerate it. No more lies, no more games, no more relationships. I'm just looking to smash or something like that. Like, think about that as an actual profile of everything the guy may want and everything the guy doesn't want. Like, swipe left if you want like a serious relationship because I'm not having it. I want to see that profile and I want to see the statistical data because no woman would really sit there and be like, yeah, this is the guy for me. I mean, I'm not going to say no woman, but I'm pretty sure the percentages, I want to see the percentages 0.00000000001.8% out of 99.99999, that didn't want that. So I mean, I feel like in this dating game, people have lost, men and women. And it's about like picking it right back up and saying, okay, I got cheated on. Okay, I got burned. Okay, I got dumped. Okay, I got kicked out. Okay, I got you know, um okay, this actually happened and I'm over this, I'm trying to get over this girl or something like that. Like you like on these dating profiles, sometimes like you bring a lot of that baggage in your profile. Like you're like up front, you're trying to say what you don't want. And it sounds like, and if you're gonna put that on the table, then yeah, that kind of leaves a bad taste in our mouth. It's like, well, why would we want to get to know you if you're such a hard no on this, and this? Like we're trying to get you to a yes. Our job is not trying to get you to a no, it's trying to get you to a yes. So I mean, it's yes, it's a game, and yes, you have to play it. But if you're gonna play it, know some rules. I mean, number one, I mean, um, men shouldn't be doing the crazy stalker um, type deal, right? We shouldn't be following you home. We shouldn't be blowing up your text. We shouldn't be blowing up your messenger or trying to call you or trying to always contact you for the next date. Sometimes we need to just chill back, say our piece, and then just wait until you're good and ready to reply if you're ever ready to reply. Number two, like, uh, like I wish women would stop with the I don't want to hook up thing. Because what if you do? Like, what if you do want to hook up? I mean, m- because now it's like, we're meeting. Yours says no hookup. I can respect that. We're not hooking up. Things go great. We're at dinner, whatever. We're at the bar or we're doing whatever, and we're having a really good time and we have some good chemistry. But in my subconscious, I'm always thinking, we're not getting anywhere. We're not gonna have sex tonight. We're not gonna have sex tomorrow night. We're not gonna have sex anytime after any date until she's fully ready. That's what I get when I'm reading your profile. But what happens is that if we're in the heat of the throes of passion in the heat of the moment and we're kind of like looking to get it, I have to pause and be like, yeah, we can't. It's like, what's wrong with me? Or what's the I'm like, oh no, nothing's wrong. It's just that you don't want to hook up. Like you don't want to do any of the hookup culture thing. I read that on your profile, and I think this might be some sort of test that you're putting me through. So I'm just going to say adieu, goodbye, and leave. So I mean, you could send a really powerful message in your profile. I mean, I'm not really sure. I mean, in these spaces, I'm not really sure why sex is kind of like this awful thing. Like it's morphed into something that's kind of sweet that everyone should experience into this thing where, oh, if you're having sex, you're of lower value or something. I don't know what that is, but I'm gonna dig into that more. I'm gonna dig into a lot of the things more. But anyway, um, sorry I was a minute late. It was like I said, I had to thing put up an error. So anyway, hopefully it was good chilling with you guys. Gonna probably try the interview thing and then probably post some clips and then when I do this next week, maybe play those clips, try it, see what's up, see how things happen, you know? And I shall catch you all on the flip.